Donald Trump backed out of a 60 Minutes interview while his running mate J.D. Vance lied brazenly about everything from health care to abortion to January 6th at Tuesday's vice presidential debate. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump is not a slick liar. Even without uttering a word, you can tell he's lying. He doesn't exactly have a trustworthy face. I mean, look at him. He's starting to look like a regional theater trophy. He looks like one of those gold guys in Times Square whose knees are aching from standing still for way too long. Someone please give me $1 so I can go home. Trump is both an inveterate liar and an incompetent one. It's getting so easy to fact check him. Even Fox News is doing it now.
Donald Trump was on the ground in Georgia today, surveying the damage and delivering supplies. The former president says the current administration is not doing enough.
The governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. I guess they're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive, but they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone.
But Governor Brian Kemp said earlier that he did speak with President Biden yesterday after initially missing his call.
That's Trump's favorite channel calling him out. That's like if the NBC description of this show was, "Who are we kidding? You're not staying up that late." Also, side note, what kind of ass travels to the scene of a deadly hurricane just to lie about the emergency response? We've all given up on you making things better, but do you always have to make them worse? And when I say we've all given up, I do mean exactly half of the country. This election is neck and neck. Still, stop making things worse. Let's pray there's never a zombie apocalypse, because there is. The only radio station will be Trump saying, "No one is coming to save you."
My fellow Americans, they're destroying our country. They'll walk into your kitchen, they'll have you for dinner. They're eating the brains. I may never see you again. Farewell.
I cannot express to you how heavy this thing is. Its heaviness is directly in proportionate to how needed it was. Like, what was this part even for? Like, just next time, put a picture of it, like, in the key. Then last night, CBS reported that Trump had backed out of a planned interview with 60 Minutes for an election special that will also feature an interview with Kamala Harris. And Trump's explanation was both incoherent and obvious BS.
After initially accepting a request for an interview with our correspondent Scott Pelley for an election special on October 7th, the Trump campaign decided they would not participate.
CBS is saying that you have pulled out of a planned interview on 60 Minutes. I'd just like you to address that report, and if you indeed are not doing the interview, explain your reasoning why.
Well, right now they came to me and would like me to do an interview, but first I want to get an apology, because the last time I did an interview with them, if you remember, they challenged me on the computer. They said the laptop from hell was from Russia. And I said it wasn't from Russia, it was from Hunter. And I never got an apology, so I'm sort of waiting. I'd love to do 60 Minutes. I do everything. I mean, I do you right now.
As someone who interviews people for a living, we don't love it when our subjects describe the process as, "I do you." Seriously, it's bad enough you're screeching about a computer like a Best Buy customer laying into a member of the Geek Squad, but "I do you right now"? I mean, I know this guy's brain's always been mush, but he's really starting to sound like a sundowning Frankenstein. And I don't mean prime Frankenstein. I mean an aging Frankenstein in a nursing home, watching The Price is Right and eating his tapioca pudding, reminiscing about the good old days when he was young and full of hope, when life was a game and winning was easy. He'd hop on his Harley with his leather jacket and his girl by his side, and they'd chase the sun until they ran out of gas, and then they'd stumble out onto the beach at moonlight. Nothing between them but their beating hearts, and the air was crisp and pulsing with romance. They made love that night. Her words still rang his mind. "Oh, Frankenstein," she whispered, And he looked deep into her eyes and said,
I do you right now.
You know what's really nice about that is how well it worked without me having to lift a full-size Frankenstein. It's because we let their mind's eye do the work. So I didn't have to do bicep day. The point is, Trump's a bad liar, but he chose as his running mate someone who is much more polished at it, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Vance is brazen and shameless, but he's admittedly very smooth. He's like a slick, used car dealer. It can be very convincing until you remember the car he's trying to sell you is an AMC Gremlin with raccoons in the engine. Still, last night, thanks to CBS's bizarre decision not to fact-check, that slickness was on display as Vance debated Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. For example, Vance claimed at one point that he had never been in favor of a national abortion ban.
In the past, you have supported a federal ban on abortion after 15 weeks. In fact, you said if someone can't support legislation like that, quote, you are making the United States the most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is, why have you changed your position?
Well, Nora, first of all, I never supported a national ban. I did, when I was running for Senate in 2022, talk about setting some minimum national standard.
That's a ban. A minimum national standard is just a bullshit way of describing a national abortion ban. It's like when I go to the coffee shop on my block and they sell all-natural, gluten-free breakfast biscuits. That's a cookie, dude. Except now you've guaranteed my kids won't stop asking me why they can't have it. We don't eat cookies for breakfast, but it's not a cookie, it's a breakfast biscuit. This coffee shop is lying to you. Also, Vance is on record saying repeatedly that he favors a national abortion ban. Vance backed a 15-week abortion ban, had a page on his website called End Abortion, and said this on a podcast in 2022.
I certainly would like abortion to be legal nationally.
That's what happens when you say yes to every right-wing podcast in the universe. J.D. Vance is on record contradicting everything he says now. Politicians used to be worried about being caught on a hot mic, but now they go into every McMansion basement they can find like they're on a hot mic scavenger hunt. That was not the only brazen lie Vance told last night. He also shamelessly claimed that Donald Trump, who spent years trying to repeal Obamacare, had actually saved Obamacare.
When Obamacare was crushing under the weight of its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs, Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. He saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership.
That is a staggering lie that is so shameless and so brazen, I don't even know what to do with myself, which brings us to a segment called Seth Drinks Some Tea and Meditates to Calm Down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Feel your chest rise and fall. You're on a beautiful, beautiful beach. Making out with hot Frankenstein. Not the old one, the young one. Namaste. Oh, I feel so much better. What were we talking about? Oh, me. I can't believe I have to say this because we were all there. We all lived through it. But Donald Trump tried over and over and over again to repeal Obamacare. He talked about how much he hated it all the time.
Let Obamacare fail. I've been saying that, Mike, I think you'll agree, for a long time. Let Obamacare fail, or just let Obamacare fail.
Trump came within one vote of succeeding until John McCain's infamous thumbs down. And I remember that vividly because I was up at 1:30 in the morning watching it live on C-SPAN with the rest of the country, nervously pacing in my apartment and chain-smoking parliaments until I realized emphysema wouldn't be covered if Trump repealed Obamacare. By the way, in case you've never watched C-SPAN that late at night, highly recommend. They have a raunchy After Dark segment where senators conduct hearings in the nude. It's called Banging the Gavel. Sounds like you might not be into it. That's cool. That's cool, I get it. Not only did Trump repeatedly promise to kill Obamacare and come within one vote of doing it, but then he complained afterwards that he would have succeeded if it hadn't been for John McCain.
You know, John McCain came in and he went thumbs down at 3 o'clock in the morning, and everybody. That was like really a horrible thing. Honestly,
That was a horrible, horrible thing that happened to the Republican Party.
Wasn't that horrible? I mean, what was worse for the Republican Party? John McCain voting against the repeal of Obamacare, or a mob storming the Capitol and trying to kill members of the Republican Party? Or a third option was at the time the Republican Party fell in line behind a president who hugs the air and pretends it's a chart like he's a retired Frankenstein reminiscing about an old flame. And then there was, of course, Vance's shameless lying about the 2020 election. First, Vance claimed Trump left office peacefully on January 20th, pretending January 6th had never happened.
It's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country.
What are you talking about? He left office peacefully only because he tried to stay in office violently and failed. You don't get credit for being faithful to your wife just because you hit on someone at a bar and they said no. Is that lipstick on your collar? Well, it is really rich for you to ask me that, as I am currently home, which means I am not with another woman, not for lack of trying, I might add. After work, I did go straight to a bar, saw an attractive woman, walked right up to her and said,
I do you right now.
And then there was the now infamous moment where Vance refused to say whether Trump had lost the 2020 election.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
If you ask someone a straightforward question and then say, I'm focused on the future, that's how you know they're caught in a lie. It's like if you were conducting a performance review at Dairy Queen and asked one of your employees, hey, Devin, before we talk about your request for a raise, did you stick your penis into the soft serve machine, then post a video of it on TikTok and call it the Jack Frost Challenge? And he said, I'm focused on the future. Then yes, he stuck his penis in the soft serve machine. Vance may have delivered a slick performance last night, but it was just that, a performance. He lied shamelessly about a shameless liar who overturned Roe v. Wade, tried to take health care away from millions of Americans, and staged a violent coup to attempt to overthrow American democracy. If you're going to screw over the American people, it would just be more honest if you looked straight into the camera and said,
I do you right now.
This has been A Closer Look.